What is up, guys? I am Kat Toffoli. This is Julie Petrie. Jules, what are we doing here?
We are here at the NHL headquarters in New York City to start our brand new podcasting journey
Which is called Never Offside.
with Julie and Kat.
Yes, so this is crazy, but how this all happened was I did a few things with the NHL earlier last year. They came to me with this idea of this podcast that would be like very behind the scenes, and they asked me who made sense to do this journey with. And you're the first and only person I thought of, because you can A, talk to a wall, and then B, you and I have this crazy journey together in this crazy world.
It's really funny how the universe has brought us back together in this. We met in Montreal during, interesting times where we couldn't really hang out together.
Couldn't meet at all.
Yeah, we couldn't be in person. I think we met via Zoom, but it was a fast friendship, and just our history of, being college athletes, you working in sports. I'm the at-home GM of my house.
You have 4 kids, I have none, and somehow we have a lot in common.
It is the most wild connection, but it's just so funny how we're brought back together in this, because it's kind of something we joked about.
We always joked, because we went through such a weird time together in Montreal during that season that ended up going to the Stanley Cup, and that's pretty much when we finally met in person. Was when
and you're forever bonded with your Stanley Cup run team.
Yes. But it was so strange. Like, we were sitting rows apart. Obviously, everyone went through like weird COVID times, but Montreal was probably like the most locked down. Curfews every night, all that stuff. So we always joked that, like, eventually, maybe when the guys were retired, we'd start a podcast and we'd talk about it, and just talk about like how we really feel about it.
But it's happening now.
Yes.
And here we are.
And it's an official NHL.
And we know what you're thinking. Never offside. It's kind of like, wait, isn't it offside?
Yeah.
No. The technical legit term is offside with no S.
However, it sounds so much better to say offsides.
So we might slip up here and there, but the official rule book is offside. So never offside with Julie and Kat. And we're going to chat with everybody. I mean, we are going to sit down with, sky's the limit.
I think that's probably why we came up with never, because there's like no no's, I guess, for us. We're going to chat with other wives, other players,
maybe some execs,
maybe some GMs,
maybe some celebrities,
Yeah.
like just anybody and everybody. We're gonna have conversation giving you behind the scenes, real life look into the NHL. Like, I think, social media and stuff does a funny thing of only showing parts and bits and pieces.
Yep.
But
we also like to show we're pretty open with ourselves. So I think this is why this worked for us, because we already kind of we're already open books. But anyway,
and we have so many funny stories, like things that just like in the moment in time, like you maybe like we couldn't share or didn't make sense to share. But like between the two of us, the stories are endless.
And there's lots of teams and just lots of journey.
Yeah.
But, so anyway, lots of journey and team and adventure, I guess.
Yeah.
But so anyway, the funniest part of this starting and kicking off here in the HQ was trying to think of who the first guest would be. And
shoot for the stars,
we
baby.
shot for the stars, and
we
asked for the commissioner to come on the show, and we wanted to ask him some behind the scene questions. And he said So
why he said yes, we don't know, but it's only downhill from here.
Yep. And
first guest today, the boss, the commissioner.
And he's coming up next. So here we go. So we were not lying about our first guest, and he is right here with us, which is surreal. Please welcome Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Good morning, good afternoon. I don't know why it's so surreal.
I don't know. I think coming, 2 hockey wives getting to chat with the boss. It's I don't know. I think nobody's done it before.
Yeah, it was a funny reaction when
camera.
we told our husbands.
Yeah,
Because-
they were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
But I think first we want to.
And I hope you go back and tell them it's okay.
Oh,
yeah. It's a flex on our part to them,
Yeah.
you know. So.
I don't think that they're surprised. Really, we could talk to a brick wall. They're like, yeah, you would talk to the top if you could.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think we want to just start with what do we call you? Do we call you Mr. Batman, Commissioner Batman?
Gary.
Okay, so
Okay, to follow that up, we were wondering if you've ever been dubbed a hockey nickname.
like
No.
you know
No.
in the locker room.
None to my face, and
Okay,
probably
so
none.
we have
Okay.
we have some suggestions.
We had
because-
some ideas, and we want to know which one you liked the best.
And maybe we'll be calling you that by the end of this
Once
little
we become-
conversation.
Yeah.
Okay,
And
go
it
for
might
it.
catch on to the entire league.
Hopefully not.
So
but
the
let's hear it.
Well, they're cute. The first one was Garzy,
Okay.
Betsy,
because Betsy.
because
Yeah,
you know.
no, I know. Betsy, I got called when I was in elementary school.
Okay, so
Okay,
what was
but
the
that was a
one?
long
I think
time
that one's
ago.
off, or Bets.
Bets. Oh, actually, it was interesting when I was in middle school, which, ancient history, that was when the Batman TV series was on for the first time.
Okay.
And they called me Batman.
Oh.
Oh.
So your nickname was Batman.
But just for a
you
brief
say-
period of time.
Oh, that's
Da, 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 da,
Yeah.
Oh
Oh my
whatever.
gosh.
Okay,
Okay.
so
By the way, you can call me whatever you want.
we kind of liked Garzy the
Yeah.
best because
Okay.
they always add a Y, and it's
Well,
kind
I
of
have a Y already.
yeah.
We're adding
Yeah,
the-
but
we're
you gotta
adding the little-
tweak it, like it's always funny.
The locker
honestly.
room.
Yeah.
The locker room tweak.
Okay.
Like I think it's funny when our husbands are talking about their teammates. It's by their nickname. So some teammates I hadn't met, if they're new or younger, and I'm like introducing myself, and I'm like, oh hi, and I'm calling them by their nickname because I realize I don't know their
weird.
first name.
Yeah.
So
They give you a funny look when you do that?
I think they're used to it,
think
but then
they're
I
used to
feel awkward because I'm like, this is inappropriate. This is your locker room.
The other funny thing about that is when you go to a different team and somebody has the same nickname as somebody, like say it's a Miller, and it's another Millsy.
Millsy.
So it's
The question is, do you get your nickname switched when you switch teams?
No, I
No.
think it carries on. But like Jeff, when he moved to Pittsburgh, there was already a PD.
Yeah.
So then, actually, Sid had to like rename Jeff, and it was JP there in Pittsburgh, and it just like didn't feel right.
Yeah.
And it was like we just need like PD1 and PD2 or
Yep.
old PD, young PD. I don't know.
well, kind of to back off that too. Something when you go to a new team is hoping that someone doesn't have his number because we already have a lot of
Yeah,
merch,
swag with
swag,
numbers on
whatever.
it.
So that's a big deal from our perspective.
It's important to be flexible in life.
Yeah, that's good advice. We're going to ask you more about advice later. So let's back up. When you got this ask, what were your thoughts? What were your to sit down with us? Were you like, what?
I don't think anybody asked me. I think they told me.
They just okay.
No, it was great.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
Have you ever had a conversation with any wives formal like this? Formal.
Not that I recall. I've had plenty of conversations informally.
Yeah.
But not on a podcast.
Not
type.
on the podcast.
Yeah. Well,
So consider yourselves the first.
Wow.
thank you. We feel honored.
Yeah.
Well,
So
so do
appreciate
I, actually.
Again, flex for our husbands. so
Yeah.
I think.
Do you listen to any podcasts?
Very infrequently.
Yeah.
If
If you're listening,
I don't- I
can you
do-
drop which ones you're listening to?
No, I don't like
Yeah.
to do unpaid endorsements or paid endorsements.
Gotcha.
No, but the fact is, it's I don't have a common, I listen to this person or people's podcast every week. It's opportunistic based
Just
on
some-
subject matter.
Yeah, somebody sent it. Cool. Yeah, that's fair.
Yep.
Okay, so we got our people telling us our research. We're doing our research on you. You're the longest standing commissioner, not only in hockey but sports. How did that happen? Were you a young boy dreaming of being in sports management, or
I grew up, went to college, went to law school. I was going to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And the serendipity of life and being flexible, the opportunity came about under circumstances and timing where, sliding doors or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
all came together, and I had an opportunity as a young lawyer to go to the NBA. when I was, I don't know, 29 or 30, and I was there during the 80s when the NBA went through its explosion. When I went to the NBA, I think I was the 25th employee, including support staff.
Wow.
Sports, professional sports, was in a whole different place in terms of the sophistication of not just the sport, but what was going on off the ice, and how sports were being presented, and the media opportunities that had yet to be created. And I was there for 12 years, and then the NHL was in need of somebody to run the league, and I survived the search that they conducted. And in 1993, I took over. So I was, I guess.
So were you a sports fan?
Always.
Always growing up.
Well, I grew up in the New York area, and so you had every major sports, and in each sport, multiple teams that you could pick one to root for. And I went to New York City public schools, played in the New York City playgrounds, the asphalt version of what a field of dreams or whatever would look like. And then I went off to college and law school, as I said, but you know, it was more about what opportunities would come. I kind of figured I was just going to be a lawyer all my life, although there are a lot of people who work here who think I've never stopped practicing law, but that's a different issue.
Yeah. Wow, that's amazing. And with your time spent in both leagues, the NBA, NHL, did you have a mentor, like a
Yes.
specific mentor
Well,
through it all?
I had two mentors. I had a mentor when I was practicing law, a gentleman named George Gallant, who was the head of the litigation department at Proskauer. And Proskauer in those days was really the only major firm that was engaged in what they called sports law. You know, because a lot of the major firms thought sports business and sports law was a little beneath them. That's obviously changed over the decades. And then I went to work for David Stern, who I knew from the law firm when he was deputy commissioner at the NBA and then became commissioner. So when I went to the NBA as assistant general counsel, roughly 2 years later, he became commissioner, and at the ripe old age of 32, I became the commissioner, the general counsel of the NBA.
Wow.
And
Was
so-
that like shifting from NBA to NHL? Was that like tough in terms of like, did you at first were you going to miss the NBA, like working in basketball, or?
No, it was really, I understood how a sports league needed to run. Watching the industry, I understood the things that other leagues were doing in the NHL weren't. It was part of what I talked about during the interview process. I had been a hockey fan from a young age. I went to Cornell University.
Who was your team?
The what?
Who was your team growing up?
No. You know what?
What arena did
I'll
you-
tell you a story about that in a second, but I went to Cornell where hockey, you know, for the Ivies and for Cornell was a big deal. They had recently come off their undefeated season and national championship, and I was a season ticket holder for the Big Red for all 4 years that I was up there. So hockey wasn't foreign to me, and I had been a fan. I rooted generically for most of the New York teams, but what was interesting is I grew up basically in a one-parent household. So nobody was passing sports on to me, history and tradition. So I always gravitated, I figured this out when I got older, I gravitated to expansion teams, so I didn't have to worry about the history that needed to be handed down that wasn't being handed down. I wanted to be that, yes.
Interesting. Expansion teams, can we talk about that with you?
Yeah, we can talk about anything you want. But the point was, I wanted to have access to all the information from day one and not rely on what happened and hear stories from 20 years ago or 30 years ago because nobody was telling me them.
Right, and you got to be flexible and adapt with.
There you go. We have a common theme here.
So let's touch on this expansion since you opened up a little bit. I am from Houston, Texas,
Yes.
and you know there's all the rumblings here and there everywhere. When's it happening?
Do you still have family in Houston?
I have all my family.
Oh, hey.
We can chat offline, but I want to be your ambassador to hockey in Houston one day.
Oh, if we go to Houston one day,
It's ready.
She's very passionate
have
about
that.
this one.
We have expressions of interest from Houston and a number of other places. expansion isn't a priority right now. If we're going to expand anywhere, we look at basically four things. We look at ownership, we look at the market, we look at the arena situation, and we look at whether or not the league would be stronger by having that presence. And if you look at the last two expansions, Seattle and Vegas, all those boxes were checked. If somebody comes in and says, here's how we're checking the boxes, we'll take a look at it. But we're not saying applications by this date, we're definitely
Yeah.
going to expand by X number of teams. We're not going to do that now, at least not for the foreseeable
I think
future.
Houston checks all of them.
They may. Well, who's the owner?
Well,
that's not. Okay.
maybe us one day. Who
There you
knows?
go.
Maybe this
You know, maybe this whole thing comes full circle.
There you go.
Okay, so that's that. Back to kind of your leadership. I'm really interested in this just from like a leadership perspective. You're such a high profile person with this leadership of an entire league. How do you balance that role with your family life, your personal life?
That is a great question. This is not a job. This is a lifestyle. And my family, particularly my wife of 49 years, who we met in college. I think you met your husband in college.
I did.
That works pretty good. So we've been together 53 years.
Wow.
We get each other. She's and all the kids and grandkids are huge fans. And it's part of our life. And they understand that sometimes I'm there, but I'm absent. You know, there are sometimes I have to be in places.
They get
that
it.
They get it, and they're a part of it. And you know,
Sounds very relatable.
It's
and,
very
and,
relatable.
From this
and
side.
by the way, family is the most important part of your life, no matter what you do, no matter who you are. And that ultimately applies to your husbands too, because at some point they're going to stop playing and they'll have a more normal lifestyle.
Right.
And the fact that they're hockey players will define them throughout their lives, but they won't be doing it for
Right.
their lives. What they have with you and their families is the most important things that they have.
I think that's really special to hear from you from the top that that's a priority in your life, because I think from the bottom up, it's like knowing that that is the same goal throughout a league is really it's reflective of it,
And if
your
you
belief.
ask the 700 or so people that work here, they'll tell you that that philosophy goes into the organization. You know, if you have a child that has a show at school
Yeah.
or a parent-teacher conference, you'll make up the work at the appropriate time. But family, there has to be a family work-life and balance, or it doesn't work.
That's awesome.
So shifting real quick, something that's really topical at the moment, outdoor games, which we
Yes.
love the outdoor games. They're so much fun.
Me too.
They're honestly one of the best. Like, when you find out that your husband has an outdoor game coming up, it's like it's like you won something, or I don't know.
It's exciting.
So
It's a good look forward to in the
It's
season
so
block.
exciting.
And it brings people together
Yes.
in bigger numbers that we traditionally do. We've done 42 outdoor
42,
games.
wow.
I think more than 2 million people have attended them. They're all different. We try to make them better each time, but they're special. I mean, because when you get done thinking about it, it's still a regular season game, and
Yep.
look at what we've done to it. So, yeah, we're very excited about them,
So can we talk about number 43 and 44?
if you'd like.
Okay.
But this is being embargoed for a little bit of time.
All right. Well, we're told they're both going to be in Florida.
Yeah, that's true.
This is exciting. How do we come to that
Well,
decision?
And
And how do we keep the ice?
Yeah, I think the logistic
That's
question.
that's
The,
my mother night, my mother brain.
No, actually,
Hockey mom
my
brain.
brain focused
Probably.
on that.
Probably
It may be
everybody's-
my mother
yeah.
brain because,
Yeah.
because before we decided to do it, that had to be an essential element. Hockey in Florida is a big deal. When you look at events like All-Star, when you look at Stanley Cup championships, when you look at the growth of hockey in Florida at all levels, it's been incredible. Both teams, the Lightning and the Panthers, ownership, the Vinicks or the Violas have done an incredible job, both at their organization and for hockey at all levels. And so we thought it was time.
Yeah,
We've been to
it
a
makes
lot of
sense.
places. We've done 42 games, north and south of the border, and we've been in Los Angeles, we've been in San Jose, and so we thought this was a good opportunity to have these two teams host. In terms of the ice, in Miami, we're going to play in a dome stadium where we can do the preparations and get the ice set so that, assuming it's not raining or anything, we can open it and it'll be an outdoor
Right.
game, open the roof. And Tampa, a little more complicated in the football stadium, but we're going to build some contraption that's going to let us set up,
Yeah.
have the ice in place, do what we need to do, and then shortly before the game, get rid of the covering and
Okay.
and
Like I'd assume
Now-
evening games, so sun is not.
And what's also
Alaskan.
what's like right now today while we're doing this, I think it's in the 50s in Florida.
so
Which
it's
is- if
good
we get
timing
now,
Yeah.
a week ago it could have been in the
Yeah,
90s
yeah,
with
right.
100% humidity, but maybe we'll get a little lucky. Now, you know, I've been teasing this prior to the announcement by saying something new, something different, something innovative, and people will think maybe we've lost our minds. But we think for the fans
I think
in
it would be
particular,
exciting. And the snowbirds that are there
yeah.
during that time of
Th-
year.
this-
it-
well, they each have, you know, snowbirds will be good, and I'm
Yeah.
sure people will travel there. But both teams have great
Right,
local
already
fan
the
bases.
standing
It's,
fan
it's
base,
really
but-
incredible.
Well, and the Marlins ballpark is just like visually really exciting,
Yeah.
so it's gonna look awesome.
Oh, well, I just want to know, like, do any of your grandkids like have like specific asks, like, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna ask Grandpa. What do your grandkids call you? Do you have a grandpa name?
Pa,
Pa.
Yeah,
Cute.
what's their
short of Grandpa.
Yeah.
And I get asked all the time about going to games.
Yeah.
Most in particular, you know, some of them want to come to Four Nations. They all come to All Star.
Oh, that's fun.
But one of my children and his wife and their children were with us in Chicago.
So you always make them happen. You always make it happen.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
you know,
awesome.
and that was Chicago with the outdoor game that we just had.
Do
So
you-
yes,
When you go to games at other arenas, we won't put you on the spot and ask you your favorite away game arena because
I love. They're like
you
children.
love them
all
all.
differently,
They're-
but I love
okay,
them all.
got it.
You got
I
it.
love that answer. Okay, have you ever been into, you know, there's family rooms for us to, you know, put our stuff, our families, food, all the things. Have you ever been into those?
Occasionally,
You have your own
I like
setup?
to give team. No, I don't need a setup. I'm
Well,
you know,
Is there
I'm
an
low
arena-
maintenance.
Yeah.
You know, if what I'll typically do.
you're just going and sitting like in the owner's box.
Well,
with
sometimes,
them,
not during the
typically.
playoffs.
No,
but,
no.
but
Your own.
I try to get around to as many teams as
Mm-hmm.
possible because the touch and feel, the game presentation, the
Mm-hmm.
fans are a little different everywhere, and so the way that I can keep a sense of what's going on
Yeah,
is
like
to touch
touch
and feel it,
base.
because it's not, you know, yes, we're here in New York. And I can go 2 blocks to Madison Square Garden. I can go a half hour out to
Right.
UBS. I can go to the Prudential Center in
Okay.
New Jersey. But it's more than that. And so I try to get out to as many places as possible. But I also, and I know, you know, eyebrows get raised when I show up at a game. I like to not disrupt routines. You know, the family room is your space,
Yeah.
right? The locker room
Okay.
is the player's space.
Do you ever look forward to, though, at any arena, like any specific food, like, you know, the hot dogs in Montreal? That's what they're known for.
they're
Like, are
great.
you like, I'm getting a hot dog every time I'm going to
Of
Montreal?
course.
Yeah.
You know, or the fried ravioli in St. Louis.
Oh, see,
You know?
there's our
I was
hot
gonna say
take on that.
between the two of us, we've seen a
have-
lot of different.
Yeah.
Like the popcorn at Rexall,
Yeah.
when it was Rexall,
Yes.
was laced with something. It was so good.
I hope not a drug.
Well, it was it's something close to it because you could not stop eating
Yeah.
it. But anyways, that is those are like the fun things that I think. I think we want to end with what we're going to call the quick shootout questions. So
Okay.
just like a off the cuff,
First thing you think of.
which I think this first one's the easy one. Your favorite TV show?
My favorite. Hey, you know what? I watch hockey games most of the time.
You're supposed to say Landman.
Well, no. I was going to say I'm currently watching Landman, and it is spectacular.
I agree.
You know, but there's so much good stuff being streamed.
Yeah.
It's a
It's
good time
endless.
if you're somebody who likes to watch a lot of television. there's a lot that you can watch.
Yep.
But let's start with hockey games.
Do you golf?
I do.
You golf.
Not very well, but I do.
Who is your favorite athlete to watch of all time?
It would be a hockey player, and I never like to name one, but if you think back at our game, I mean, Wayne Gretzky's impact on, there's a reason he's called the Great One.
Right.
And it's fun to watch now what's happening with Alex Ovechkin going for a record
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
I
nobody
know my
ever thought
kids.
could be
My
broken.
kids check the scores every morning to see how Obi's doing. Best pizza in New York.
Most traditional pizzerias, I mean, there's one on every block.
Your favorite place to vacation.
My favorite place to vacation. Well, we have a house in Vermont. Kids grew up there learning how to ski. But I've been all around the world, and, you know, not one place in particular.
Okay.
So we're going right to a more personal, best advice that you've ever received.
Do the right thing. Make decisions for the right reasons. Don't play games. Don't be political. And if you have to tell people something they don't want to hear, you tell it to them anyway. You don't BS people.
And then now on our new venture, which we're very excited to start, especially here at the HQ, what advice do you have for us?
In terms of your venture, continue doing what you're doing. Be fun, be engaging. You know, covering sports shouldn't be like doing an autopsy. It should be fun, it should be entertaining, it should be engaging, and it should be connective, bringing people together, because that's what sports does better than anything else.
I love that.
We really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
We love you, Garzy.
Thanks, Garzy.
Thanks for being with me, and thanks for coming into New York. It's great to be with you.
It means a lot. So
Thank you.
Thanks. So that just happened.
That was so fun.
That was our first guest, Commissioner Gary Bettman.
Where do we go from here?
Well, I mean, honestly, we started out with the top, which is absolutely insane. But what did you take away from that? What did you think?
I just loved his commitment to his family. You can see when he walked in off camera talking about, you know, his family and his grandkids and the commitment through the league and here in the offices. I just think it's how it infiltrates from top to bottom.
Yeah.
It's family first, and it really shows in our league, and I feel that.
Yeah,
he's so special.
He's a very friendly guy, and he just, you know, he came in our little couch setup that we requested, and like literally just
He's asking us questions.
You,
I mean,
you could have talked for like another 2 hours.
We need a part 2 because
Yeah.
the fact that we got cut, like, we're doing it again. We're running it back. But wait, what about Florida?
I know that was actually insane because I think at first he was kind of like,
How did these girls know?
yeah, can we talk about it? But I'm not gonna lie in terms of that, because as we told him that we like love these outdoor games, I love Florida, I love Miami. You know, I go to Miami all the time. I love the Marlins Stadium, so I'm actually like,
And outdoor
jealous.
games are such a special. You guys played in one last year. Jeff has played in a million, it seems like, and we're playing in one this year in Columbus at the Ohio State football stadium.
Yeah.
So like they're just like these magical events that bring not only like you like circle that date as a family, and you really look the whole season towards that of like, you know, what are we going to wear? The wives are making certain jackets.
well, now it's become kind of like a playoff game.
Yeah, it is a built-in playoff game, and it's just so fun, and family members coming from all over, and just that experience. And then it's always the variable of like the weather. Like, what are we going to be dealing with?
A lot of times it's freezing, so that's why it's funny that he has to now think about like Florida.
Yeah, I know the logistics of keeping the ice.
So now we're official.
It's it. So do what you could do with podcast Never Offside with Julie and Kat. Go find it wherever you listen to your podcast. Like, subscribe, write reviews, all the things that you got to do around podcasts. Please do. Share with your friends, your family, and write us. Let us know what you want to hear.
Yeah, we're very excited to start this. So here we go.
Let's do it. It's going to be fun.